this is Andre. The term Vari-Speed refers to audio speeding up as the pitch increases and slowing down as the pitch decreases. This is what happens on vinyl turntables, tape decks, samplers, and nearly every other way of dealing with audio. What is much less common, and what we're going to look at here, is changing the pitch of audio without changing its speed or timing. There are a few different terms for this kind of thing, but repitching is the one that makes the most sense to me. Now, technically, the Loupé doesn't have a repitching function per se. By default, all of its pitch manipulations are Vari-Speed based. To try and get repitching happening, we're going to work with the Loupé's LFO section. Now, if you've seen any videos on the LFO engine, or if you've worked with it yourself, then you know that it's hugely powerful, but it also plays by its own very particular set of rules. One of the idiosyncrasies of the LFO section is that it can change the pitch of a loop, but some of its settings will venture outside of conventional tuning. The LFO depths with an asterisk in their names indicate the most conventionally usable values, but between those there's a wide range of intervals that may not fit into 12-tone equal temperament. So to deal with that, we're going to be looking at another Loupé function, which is a new addition in the latest firmware, called Savarts. I was unaware of this prior to working with the Loupé, but Savarts are a particular system of measuring musical pitch. 1 Savart is equal to just under 4 cents, and there are 100 cents in a half step. So a Savart represents a very small gradation in pitch, and as it turns out, it's a great way of making some of the Loupé's LFO settings fit comfortably into conventional tuning. This whole approach is potentially extremely deep, and it's still a very experimental thing for me, so this video looks at combining all of these elements in a pretty basic approach to repitch a loop to specific musical intervals. By no means is this a definitive report on a fully realized concept, but it's a cool technique and potentially a very usable one, so I wanted to share what I've found so far. One technical note: when editing a patch on the Loupé, pressing and holding the FX Edit button lets you preview what the current settings sound like. This is a great way of fine-tuning parameters without having to save the patch, exit editing, play the patch, see if it works, and then repeat the whole process if it's not what you're after. There's a lot of that in this video, so keep in mind that when it happens, we're comparing the current settings to the saved version of a particular patch. As always, thank you very much for tuning in. Okay, here's a loop we made off camera. This is in A. Now let's apply ReadFX that I also programmed off camera. So it's an octave down, but if you listen, the timing is the same. So even though we're going an octave down, it's not a Vari-Speed thing where it's slowing down as well. The basic timing of the loop is the same. So let's look at what's going on with this patch. If we go into Edit, we have an LFO wave. It's a triangle shape, but we're only using one step. Remember that LFOs in the Loupé are 16-step sequences, but we're only using one step in that sequence. The LFO length is 1. If we crank it up to 16, let's see what that sounds like. And if we slow it way down, it's kind of jumping between an octave down and a fifth up. So if we have it be just one step, that'll give us just an octave down. Now, if you change the LFO speed, it affects the timing of the loop and how much of the loop actually gets converted. So right now it's at 4. If we compare this, here's the regular loop down. Now let's try a speed of 4. You can hear how it kind of smooths the edges out, and some of the more syncopated information isn't getting in there. Let's save that. So there's our original loop. There's our loop an octave down. And this is quantized to start and end right at the downbeat of a bar, which in this case is the same as the loop. Let's just take a second and change the speed, the divisions, and see how that changes the sound and the feel of the loop. So right now we are at a fourth. Let's try a second. So that's cool, but we're losing even more information from the loop. And there we're totally losing stuff. It sounds really good. Now, whether or not it's good or bad to lose that stuff is very subjective, but let's say for the sake of discussion that we want to retain as much of the original loop as possible. So if we go to 8, that's tighter. Let's try 12. And it's subtle, but you can kind of hear that's imposing like a 12/8 kind of feel rather than a 16th note feel. Let's try 16. That sounds pretty good. Let's try something really high. That's getting pretty growly, so now you can hear we're getting more artifacts because the LFO is so fast. Similar thing there. So the lower the LFO speed is, generally speaking, the cleaner the sound is going to be, but you also are going to kind of drop certain elements of the original loop out. So let's go to 16. Actually, let's go to 8. I think that's a good split of the difference. So save that. Original loop, ReadFX. All right, let's copy this to the next one down here. So now we've copied that to the undo switch. And we are going to change the depth of the LFO, which is going to give us a different musical pitch. Right now the depth is 7. Let's try the depth at 8. Okay, so that's going a lot lower. So let's save that. And let's get rid of all the read effects. So I believe this is going down to an F from A, so basically it's going to the minor 6th of the key. And here's the crux of the biscuit, as Mr. Zappa would say. If I play an F, the 6th, it's not quite in tune with the Loupé. But if I play an F sharp, it's not quite in tune either. So the nature of the LFO is that sometimes it gets into microtonal territory just because of how the LFOs affect the playhead. Now what we can do is tweak the tuning using the Savarts parameter. So let's listen to this. So the loop's a little sharp for being on an F, for being the minor 6th, though we're going to tune it down a little bit and preview that. Much better. Let's try tuning it a little more. Good, let's save it like that. Nice, and then let's go back to the first one. Octave down. And let's go to our F. Back to A minor. Let's go back to F. Now it's a little wonky timing-wise coming out of here. You can see. So let's see if we can tighten that up. So we're going to go to divisions. Let's try 16. And coming out, it's better. It's a little loosey-goosey. Let's try something really low. That's a lot tighter. Let's try 3. Yeah, we're losing the snare. Let's try 2. Let's stick with that. Yeah, so I mean, we're messing with the information in the loop a little bit when the speed is that low, but it comes in and out of that really smoothly. Okay, let's copy that to another switch. Let's copy it to the insert switch, and let's have this be a different interval. Let's try a depth of 6. Okay, so I believe that would be C, minor third up from the root. Let's try that. Let's see how a C chord sounds above that. Little funky. It's close, but not quite a cigar. So again, let's use Savarts to fine-tune that. Game edit, go to the insert switch. So the guitar is a little sharp in relation to the loop, so let's tune it up a tiny bit. It's closer. I think we might have gone a little too high on the loop, so let's try +3 Savarts. Let's try that for now. Good. And how is it coming out of there? It's good. We're losing the snare after the first one, so let's see if we can fine-tune that a little more. There it comes again. Let's try 16. Yeah, we're still losing the snare. That's interesting. Let's try 2. Let's try something higher. Yeah, so every now and then the snare peaks in. Personally, that's not a problem for me. So let's save that. So we've got A minor, we've got C, we've got F, and A minor. Let's try one more interval. Let's go back up here. Copy that down to the replace switch, and let's try a different depth setting yet again. Okay, so 5th down, or down to the 5th, down a 4th technically speaking for you theory nerds, and I can already tell that's a little out of tune. So if we play an E, yeah, so it's a little flat in relation to the guitar. So let's bump up the pitch a little bit with Savarts. That's much better already. What happens if we go another Savart? Also sounds good. Let's go with +4. Okay, so we've got A minor, or A. We've got E. F. We've got C. And they're in tune.